Welcome to Tracing Female Ancestors. We at the Government and Heritage Library, part of the State Library of North Carolina, want to provide you with an introduction to the different challenges you might encounter when tracing female ancestors, as well as some of the strategies and resources to help you overcome those challenges. Finding female ancestors can be really tough, even for experienced genealogists. Female ancestors, often referred to in genealogy literature as invisible ancestors, are typically listed by their first name only on family trees. As such, locating the maiden name of a female ancestor can be tricky. A knowledge of social history is important and critical to the understanding of an ancestor's actions and motivations. This will supplement what you find in the historical documents showing your female ancestors as part of a history and not just a name and dates on a pedigree chart. While we will offer suggestions of where to look for specifics, don't forget to look at magazines, newspapers, catalogs, and other contemporary novels that appealed to females of that particular era. The name of the descendants of your elusive female ancestor may hold clues to her own maiden name. Do not neglect naming patterns. Immigrant ancestors tended to name children after other family members, often using an unwritten but traditional formula. In many instances, the firstborn son was generally named after the paternal grandfather and the first daughter after the maternal grandmother. This was especially common practice during the 19th century and earlier. Look for the repetition of certain given names or surnames being used as a middle name for the children of a female ancestor. Middle names can provide wonderful clues to ancestry. Does a child of your female ancestor have a surname as his or her middle name? A woman often gave her own maiden name as a middle name to her sons or daughters. Or her children may have been named after an uncle, aunt, or a more distant relative, all clues to expand your research. Do remember, however, that when searching online databases, indexes, or paper records, to be aware of spelling variations for both names and places. Be sure to take into account the transposition of letters, phonetics, and poor handwriting, all of which can have the potential to alter a name. Many genealogists and family history librarians have found great value in researching what is identified as a female ancestor's fan club, that is, her family and friends, associates, and neighbors. Broadening the research field to include your ancestors' fan clubs is especially important for finding the maiden names of your female ancestors. Your research should include the cluster of individuals, spouses, children, friends, and extended family members that were part of the female ancestor's life. Attempt to reconstruct the lives of all the males associated with your female ancestor. This might offer important clues about your ancestor. Be sure to expand your search to include the business associates, military buddies, community associates, and neighbors of her children and their spouses. You can also search the fan club by checking the 12 households or neighbors listed before and after your known ancestor in the United States Census. Future spouses, parents, or in-laws may have lived close by. Now let's look at some resources that, if they can be located, may give you clues to your female ancestors' lives. Family archives. All genealogy research begins at home, and in particular, the homes of older living family members. Here you may discover artifacts such as a family Bible where vital records were lovingly recorded. Inspect old family photographs and family textiles such as a sampler or a quilt given to celebrate a birth or marriage. If you find jewelry, examine it for inscriptions and dates. View postal cards that have been saved, who sent the card, and from where. Old newspaper clippings may announce a family birth, marriage, or death and give vital genealogical information. Diaries, journals, and other scrapbooks are all records of what an ancestor thought important enough to record at the time. Census records. Be sure to check every census year during your female ancestor's lifetime. Pay close attention to the people listed in the household, especially if they were listed with a different surname. An elderly parent may have been living with her. Unless they were the head of the household, the names of women were often not listed until 1850. Before that, they appear as a tick mark on the census form with an age range. Marriage records. Marriage records are a great source of locating a female ancestor's maiden name as well as the given names of her parents. Legal separation and divorce were rare in the 18th and 19th centuries, but when they occurred, public records were created that often included the maiden name and the date of marriage, as well as the names of any children. Church records. Churches are a good source for birth or christening records. These records typically include the names of both parents along with the maiden name of the mother. Church marriage records will also include maiden names and are an alternative source for marriage information for periods where civil registration was not in effect. Land records. Land records are some of the earliest available genealogical records in our country. Land transactions have the potential to detail connections between female and male siblings, as well as include maiden surnames, particularly if a group of heirs sold or inherited land together. Land records also help to illustrate relationships between fathers and sons and/or fathers and daughters or sons-in-laws. These various records can be found in the State Archives of North Carolina. Military records. Was your female ancestor's spouse or child in the military? Pension applications and military service records often include good biographical information. In this example, Rebecca Aaron is listed as the widow of pensioner William Aaron. As you can see, even her maiden name is spelled out. Death records. If your female ancestor died recently enough to leave a death certificate, this is potentially one of the few places where her maiden name may appear. Since death certificates can often include inaccurate information, check the certificate for the name of the informant. The closeness of the relationship between the informant and the deceased can help you assess the accuracy of the information. Remember that North Carolina did not begin requiring death certificates until 1913. Probate records and wills. If you have a hypothesis of who might be the spouse or parents, search for that couple's probate record or will. In this example, James Cooper names two daughters, Sophia Bowlen and Silva Kirksey. Cemetery records. Tombstones may list women under their maiden name or may include the wife's maiden name as a middle name or initial. Another tip is to check nearby plots where other family members may be buried. Newspapers. Check newspapers of the locality where your ancestor lived for birth or marriage announcements or obituaries. Even if you can't locate an obituary for your female ancestor, you may find notices for siblings and/or other family members that can provide helpful clues. Combining a list of your ancestor's siblings with census research can help determine potential family relationships. Successful research leaves no stone unturned. This is especially true for female ancestors. Although they can be difficult to research, don't give up. These women have wonderful stories to tell, and their legacies are far-reaching. It's up to us to listen and bring them to life for future generations. We hope that you now have a few more places to check when researching your female ancestor.